I was wrong. Mortis Ghost isn't a French dog who wears glasses. He's actually a Belgium dog who wears glasses. I don't know why I thought he was French. I feel betrayed and stabbed in the heart. Oh yeah, I 100% the new HD port of Off that was released onto Steam in 2025. It's not a remaster or a remake, which some people and even Mortis will tell you. In case you don't know, Off is an RPG Maker game that's very dear to my heart. It's an important game to me, so when I heard it was finally getting an official release with new content and adjustments to the gameplay, I was excited. To be clear, I did buy the Steam version day one because I wanted to give back to Mortis Ghost. The original game came out in 2008. The game was free, so making an official Steam version with a price tag is a nice way to give back. Running with Scissors also did this with Postal 1. But you read the title of the video. Maybe it was a mistake to buy it day one. This won't be a full analysis of Off, because to be honest, it deserves its own video. This video is about my feelings on the 2025 version and why it's not great, and actually it's quite bad. If you haven't played the original game, then please go and play it. It's free. With all that said, let's begin. The good. Yep, there are a few good things I like about the 2025 version of Off. The new battle system is great in regular combat encounters. In the original, the battle system was really basic, especially for an RPG Maker game. It was just attack, attack, attack. Oh no, the monster added a status effect. Cure it. Cool. Attack, attack, attack. Use an item once in a while. To be clear, the old system wasn't bad, but it got dull quick, and even the boss fights felt meh, apart from the queen fight. But now, the new system spices it up a bit. Fights are more challenging, and I actually had to use items more often, and even form strategies. This is amazing, and by far the biggest improvement from the original. In addition, there are now these cool background arts you can use while playing the game. Nice! And that's it. I know, that's like two things. You want me to talk about the story? No, it's the same. This version doesn't change the story at all. I like the story, but I'm not gonna praise the new version for something the original does. I suppose having a proper English translation is nice too. It did fix some mistakes that the fan translation made, but for the most part, the dialogue is pretty much the same. It's important to remember, Mortis Ghost never made an English translation for the original. The game was meant to be played in French, so it speaks volumes of how good the fan translation is. The bad. This is where the fun begins. There is a massive issue I have with the game. Sorry, the 2025 version of the game, and it's to do with the new soundtrack. But let's dig into the starters before we devour into the main course. Puzzles are still bad. Off is one of those games where it's more fun to talk about than play, in my opinion, and that's mostly to do with the god-awful puzzles. The combat got adjusted, sure, but Mortis didn't change the puzzles, apart from adjusting the controller one. This is just one example of why I think this version is just a HD port and not a remaster or remake. Mortis, in all his wisdom, did not do anything about these awful puzzles. Some are okay, but a lot of them get little information and don't feel satisfying to do. I'm awful at puzzles, by the way, yet puzzles can work as long as you find the balance of how much information you give to the player. The Spiral Scouts, in my opinion, is the greatest puzzle game ever. It has some super tough ones. Apart from one puzzle, I did not look up a guide. Even that one puzzle in concept is incredible, just the execution could have been a bit better. So why are the puzzles in the Spiral Scouts so great? The game gives you the right amount of information. It doesn't hold your hand, but gives you just enough. It makes solving the puzzles feel great. It's also funny as hell. It's very disappointing that Mortis felt like he didn't need to change or adjust the puzzles with the new version. You can categorize the puzzles in Off into the following: brute through it with luck, too easy, slowly trying every possible answer, or just having a guide ready to look it up. None feel good to complete. It doesn't help that you do so much backtracking when solving them! In my opinion, it always felt like it was inserted to pad out the length of the game. By far the weakest part of the original as well. The story, visuals, and the original soundtrack carried the game a lot. Wait, did I say the original soundtrack that isn't in the 2025 version? Oh no! Next, the bosses and the new bosses are still too easy apart from the Queen. Yes, earlier I did say the adjustments to the battle system have improved the combat for regular fights, not the bosses though. The bosses still feel too easy, and without the original soundtrack, they're lamer. Okay, the Queen is still amazing in both versions because 1, she's beautiful and we love her and worship her, and 2, she evolves during the fight. She breaks the norm in terms of the gameplay established in off. It's why in my opinion and many others state she's the best boss in the game. But what about the new bosses? Well, they have a one gimmick party trick, and unfortunately that's it. Good boss fights are the ones that push the player to change up tactics and evolves. They don't do that. Even the fish bosses, which had an interesting idea, fall so short once you figure out what they do. They become really easy. This is a shame because as a quote-unquote remaster, Mortis should have made the bosses have more depth, but they don't, unfortunately. I even did a second playthrough and tried my best to be under-leveled with weak equipment to give myself a challenge when fighting the bosses. It was a cakewalk. Only the Queen gave me a real challenge. Again, as I mentioned before, this was kind of a weak point in the original as well, yet the visuals, story, and importantly, the soundtrack carried them. Oh no! It's like with the new soundtrack, the experience is much worse! Here we go. The biggest problem of OFF 2025 is the soundtrack. I'm not gonna say it's bad. No, actually, for the most part, they are really well made. It just doesn't belong in OFF. It feels out of place, and some of them are actually garbage. A huge part of what makes the original game so great and so unforgettable is the soundtrack. It makes going through the awful puzzles worth it. It makes the dull combat enjoyable. It adds character and depth to the bosses. Avatar Beat, my favourite soundtrack, perfectly captures the tone of the final fight and the ending of the game. The new soundtrack feels like a fan trying to recapture the charm. Oh wait, that's what it is! It's so vile that new players are made to believe that this new soundtrack is the definitive version and will miss out on the beautiful soundtrack that the original had. Before I highlight some examples, I am aware that this wasn't Mortis' fault completely, even though he could have done more in my opinion. To make a long story short, Coldwood, the original composer for the game, didn't want the soundtrack to go through a content ID system because a lot of fans made stuff about OFF and other projects that used the original soundtrack, and unfortunately they would be at risk of being taken down. Honestly, I respect that. With all that said though, Mr. Mortis, you have a responsibility to make the old soundtrack accessible. Make it a free DLC, or put up a post to guide players to mod it in to the new version. I cannot stress enough how criminal it is that you're trying to pretend the old soundtrack doesn't exist, and saying that this new one is a definitive version. Yes, the original game is still free, but new players won't know that. For the love of God, do what Austin did with Lisa the First and Running with Scissors with Postal 1. Make the original game free and post it onto the Steam page. Now, let me show you a few examples of how the new soundtrack feels out of place. Kind of like it's off. Okay, I had to make that joke once. Avatar Beat in the original perfectly represented how bleak the final fight is. It didn't matter who you chose in the end. The world is dead. The soundtrack represented that. In addition, the name Avatar Beat is ironic because if you chose to side with the judge, you are literally beating the avatar of the game. Get it? It's a cute meta joke. The batter you are playing as is the real monster. For fud's sake, he looks like a monster during that moment. A new, which is in the new soundtrack that is played during the final fight, is just epic music. It sounds good, but misses the point of that part of the game. The fight to save the world is pointless because it's already dead. Why put in the epic music? It feels so out of place. It doesn't sound like OFF. The point is that it's too late. The fight is meaningless. No, I refuse to give credit to Toby for including what sounds like Pepper State in a new. Not only does it sound out of place, especially for the context of what's happening, it's also cheap and lazy to take something from the original and inserting it into the final fight theme. Bomb Software did this with Lord Gwen's theme and put it in Dark Souls 3. They added it to manipulate the player's emotions. You are doing the same thing to the old fans by adding Pepper State. I'm not upset about this, I'm just really disappointed. Sounds from the middle of the highway made my ears bleed. It is a loop. It got so bad, I muted the game. Did you just hear what I said? Muting the music in an OFF game? Sorry, in the 2025 OFF game. Never would I ever imagined I would mute a soundtrack while playing a version of OFF. What the fuck? Or how about After Swain's More Runs, which is played during the Purified Zones? It was so cringe, I muted it too! Remember in the original where it sounded like what little life was there was fading away? It was beautifully haunting. Not in the new soundtrack, it's just bad, and not in the good way. Who okayed this? This doesn't belong in OFF. This should work in another project maybe, but not in OFF! One more, I guess. Productive Privacy. Sounds like a Super Mario level. I guess the sequel of OFF will star a character called The Plumber. My point is, the soundtrack doesn't belong in OFF. It feels like a massive mismatch. And I'm upset that Mortis Ghost isn't doing anything to let players know about the old soundtrack. It must be said, a few of the soundtracks actually felt like they belong in Off, the new credits song, and the soundtracks that involve the Queen. Maybe don't hire fans to make music for a new version of your game. If it's not clear, please mod the 2025 version of the old soundtrack. The original soundtrack plays such an important role in the experience of Off. I do not want new players to miss out on it. Even Toby Fox was like, he didn't want to do this, so why the fuck did you take the job? This feels like when Mary Elizabeth McClellan said she wasn't right to play Mary/Maria in the Silent Hill 2 HD collection port, but took the role anyway. You can say no, just say no! A perfect way to describe this new soundtrack is that it's trying to wear the skin of the original one and pretending to be the real thing, and that's just nasty. Also, just to say this now, I actually put a link to the original soundtrack and a link to the original game in the description of this video, so definitely check those out. And I'm doing this because I want to do more than what Mortis Ghost is doing on the Steam page with his lack of care for the original stuff. So yeah, take that. The Ugly. Yep, it's time to talk about what Off 2025 really is. It's not a remaster like the trailer says it is. It's not a remake like some people are calling it. You are misleading the viewer. No hate towards any of you, but please stop calling it a remake! Off 2025 is really a HD port with extra content, a new soundtrack, and a few adjustments to gameplay. Calling it a remaster, in my opinion, is slimy. The visuals look better, sure, but they remain unchanged from the original. They have a HD look to it now, which in my opinion kind of lessens the experience. I would totally call this a remaster if Mortis updated the hand-drawn visuals, but he didn't. He used the same old ones. It makes the new bosses look jarring because Mortis had to make them, and it's clear that his style has changed. A perfect analogy would be Silent Hill 2 and 3 versus the HD collection. You won't call it a remaster, but a port with adjustments. Please Mortis, be honest with what this product is. It's a fancy port. That's not a bad thing. HD ports are fine, and as I said, Off is a special game to me, and I want to give back to Mortis. The problem is trying to pass off as a remaster and the definitive version when this is clearly a weaker version than the original. So, do I recommend Off 2025? Fuck no. In the description of this video will be links to the original soundtrack and the original game for free. Play that instead. The only reason why you would want to buy the new version is if you love the original game so much and you really want to give back to Mortis Ghost. Only then buy this new version. And you can always mod the old soundtrack as well. But honestly, just play the original and don't bother playing this new version. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still a beautiful game, not like the 2025 version. And seriously, the only reason to buy that new version is to give back to Mortis. Even that brings up a moral question though. Should you even support this? This is a bad practice, what he has done. He put out a lesser experience of a beautiful game and passing it off as a true version, a HD port disguised as a remaster. Even the reviews that are highlighted on the game's Steam store page are talking about the original game. Not one mention about the 2025 version. But alas, my love for Off is great, and if this is how I can support Mortis for making Off, so be it. I don't have to like it, but Off is very special to me. I am aware that some people may say that at least we got something and you should just enjoy it. I'm like, no. If you love it, great, but I'm not going to ignore the issues. I know, I really come off as bitter in this video, and that's because it feels like Mortis Ghost is fixing something that didn't need fixing, or to be honest, not fixing the parts that needed it. If Mortis Ghost simply ported the original game onto Steam and put a price tag on it, I would be happy, but to claim this new version is a definitive way to play the game is just wrong. Hell, make it free and put a link to allow players to donate if they want to. I say all of this because I love Off. It's an important game to me. The Batter's story is one of the best. Till this day, people talk about the Batter's other form. What does that mean? I made a video about it! Off is a game you don't forget. I wish more people played it, but in my opinion this new version feels like a worse experience. It sucks when you look up Off, that's the first thing that will pop up. A weaker version of the game with a price tag. Well, that's my thoughts on the game. I want to know your thoughts. Do you like it? Let me know. And again, I want to mention the original soundtrack will be in the description below and the original game, which is free. So please, please, please play those and listen to the original soundtrack. Anyway, see ya.